I mean, I think that the whole inhale stuff is one of the biggest misconceptions and stupid stigmas in the metal scene. I think it's stupid as crap. And I think that there's vocalists out there that are big vocalists that are lying that they don't do inhales, and I think they do. Just because they don't want people to talk crap on them. I joined as Blood Earns Black in like 2009 through like this open vocal audition thing that they did. Won the whole vocal contest that they had, got in, went to LA. We were about to go on tour, you know, practicing everything all good. And then right before we were about to go on tour, I said, you guys know I do all inhales? They were like, what? They're like, you have to change that. I'm like, why? What are you talking about? You like the way I sound? I'm sitting here doing it. You had no idea until I told you. It's not why I left the band or anything like that, but even that just goes to show that the stigma, it just makes no sense at all.
Real quick before we start, I just wanted to mention that we do these podcast recordings live on Twitch. It's kind of a cool way for you guys to be a part of the conversation, as well as, you know, see the behind the scenes and the uncut versions of these episodes. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribing, leaving a comment, liking the video, all that stuff goes a long way. Same goes for leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We have a striving community on Discord if you want to chat with other like-minded deathcore enjoyers, as well as just staying up to date with everything that's going on with the podcast. Last but not least, if you want to support the podcast, I'll be leaving a link down in the description wherever you are watching or listening on how you can do so, as well as links to everything else that I just talked about. With that out of the way, enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Brutality Podcast. My name is Dom. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Yan. And this week, we have the pleasure of being joined by two wonderful people. Today, we are joined by Jonny McBee and Keem Bivens from the band The Browning. Boys, welcome to the show. How we feeling tonight?
Doing good.
Did you use my government?
I did use the government. I'll bleep it out.
I got fans watching. Boy, I got fans watching. I can't, you know what I'm saying? You know.
Okay, we got Hardcore Keem in the house. How you doing, my man?
What's up?
Boys, we have a lot to talk about. The Browning has been around for quite a long time, longer than I think most people kind of realize. And but at the same time, you guys are in this new era of the Browning. You guys have put out 3 singles up until a couple days ago with Keem, since he's joined the band. And then today you guys just released a new single called OMNI for an upcoming album. How's the rollout been? How's the reception been so far? Because it's a bit different than what we're used to from the Browning. So I'm curious how that's been going for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. Definitely having this part of the Brownings era being just like high energy and putting out stuff like a lot more often is something new for people. Just because normally it's like a 2.5 year wait between songs or between albums. But we're with a new label called Fix. That's a big reason that there's kind of new momentum behind it. And so not only with the new label, but then also having Keem involved in the band is another part of the big momentum. And the Browning is just me and Keem now. You know, we the duo and the dynamic duo, as we call it. And yeah, Keem is a big part of what the new age of the Browning is going to be for me. It's nice having someone in the band that is just very all about it as much as I am, and loves the music and loves all the aspects of it. So it's exciting. You know, it's nice to be excited about something you've been doing for 20 years, you know.
Cool. How's it for you, Keem, to be a part of the band now and to be contributing to, from what I understand, a band that you were listening to, you know, prior to joining the band, being a fan of the band? How's that been, and how's it been to release these songs with the Browning?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I've been listening to the band since I was in middle school. I mean, Johnny's old. So, yeah, I've been listening to the band for like a long time. My little brother put me onto the Browning, and I was like, dang, this is sick. Electronic and metal. I've been a fan ever since. And now I still like refer to the Browning in like third person, like I'm not even in it. But
yeah, he tries talking about the stuff as if it's not his thing all the time. You know, he's like, so what are you guys gonna do with this release? I'm like, what do you mean? It's me and you. What are you talking about?
And by you guys, he means just you. It wouldn't even be a plural.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, it's fun, man.
It's definitely something to get used to, and you know, the new era has all sorts of benefits to just the setup of the band, and it being you know, two primary people, and we got our boy Brandon Funera on drums, so doing 3-piece live, and it's just the simplest touring situation you could ever imagine, which is going to be really important. And shout out to Lucas in the chat. He's our sound guy. He's the one other person I'm willing to spend money on tour. And so, and I got to shout out Nader, Chiron, Linda, all the homies from the Discord up in here too. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How I'm curious though still, because it being 2-piece, 3-piece live, Keem, you're a bassist. How's you're a bassist at heart. How's it feel having the bass in the tracks? And you playing guitar?
Hate it. Hate it. I'd rather be.
I'm all freaking about that crap.
I rather the guitar be like backed, and then I'm just doing the bass. But you know, that's just me. Because you know,
we honestly talked about that for a second. We contemplated it when we decided of going down to the 3-piece. We literally talked about that. We're like, okay, something's got to be backtrack here. Do people really care about the Brownings guitars? I don't think so. Like, you know, it's just we're chugging and we're doing stuff. So what would it matter if it's a bass or guitar live being played? But we opted to the guitar because it's not any harder than the bass is to play. So.
I mean, could have opted to go fully back to the roots of the MIDI guitars. You know,
we have talked about that. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
There's this company. They're called Star Labs. They have this thing. What do they call it, Keem?
Yeah, it's called a Zetar.
Zetar. That's it. It's literally it looks like a guitar with the fretboard and things, but it's every fret note is a MIDI note. So it's like freaking 200 MIDI notes, and it like lights up when you're playing and stuff, and it looks crazy. So we actually did consider that too.
Yeah, I'm not like, I'm probably not the majority, but personally I always preferred bass to guitar in general, because first of all, I love chugs and I love like very caveman simple stuff in general. But it's like, to me, it would have been cool to see that there's a 3-piece and he's like, it's a bass and the guitar is backtrack to me, but I'm not sure I'm the majority, but I would have thought it's cool to see like a bassist on stage and the guitar is backtrack. Right. So it is an option, and is there people, like, nothing comes to mind right now. Like, is there a 3-piece doing that?
Well, so the reason that actually got influenced to really narrow it down to being, 3 people was I saw Within Destruction did this like tour in they're somewhere in Asia where they toured as a 2-piece, vocalist and a drummer. I don't know for what reason that happened. Like maybe something happened with travel, but they toured as a 2-piece, and I saw videos, crowd still popping off, everything still going perfect, like it didn't matter. And I'm like, okay, like at least bands like us or Within Destruction, there's certain bands that could get away with basically kind of like what rappers might do, where they're looking for a vibe. They're looking to be there for one reason, and that's to have a good time. Like there's nothing about the Browning that anyone's going there to be impressed by besides just like the crowd participation, a party, you know? And so like, we're not going to impress anybody by how sweet the bassist is playing or anything like that. And so we think that me and Keem got enough body to take up that stage, so we're good to go.
Yeah, no, but I think it makes sense though, because it depends on the experience you're offering, right? Like if we're talking about a band like Archspire, if they would backtrack the guitar, exactly. I feel like people would be like, well, I was waiting for that, but like depending on what you do, I feel like it's an experience thing, right? Like it's a rhythm kind of a vibe type thing. So I'm not like, I think most people won't even think about that as
Yeah,
much.
with
Or
the
just gonna
Browning,
be
I
like-
don't think it's gonna matter. It's like
Yeah.
it would actually be more impactful if we actually put a keyboard player on the stage than if we had like a guitarist or a bassist up there.
That's what I was thinking in my head.
Yeah.
I was like, at the same time, like no one's expecting you guys to come out with the fucking, a few synth players to play the wacky parts,
That's how I thought it would have to be whenever I was young. I didn't know about backtracks, and I had no idea how I would ever do the Browning live because I thought I'd have to have like 5 keyboard players. And so, yeah.
I'm really missed the days. Do you guys remember back, the Divorce Spread at Cornerstone when like the keyboardist would like throw himself everywhere and just like I miss the crazy keyboard players just
That's
like
Keem's favorite
moving
band.
more.
That's right.
It was so sick, you know what I mean? Like that lineup of the Divorce Prada, not to switch topic too much, but like that era was just like you would see these keyboardists moving more, going mushing sometimes even. It was like
Dude,
out of this
Under
world.
Oath's keyboard player goes fucking crazy live. And
Yes.
I saw him a few years ago, and he's still the same way. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't
probably
know that.
hurts a little bit more in the morning now, but
There's a lot of chances. Like his back is hurting as he's doing it, maybe more. Someone is talking, by the way, in the chat about the fingerboard. I have to commend you for what I'm seeing in the background. I'm fully expecting a trick before the end of this podcast. And also that would be awesome if you do an interlude live in which you do some tricks and then you go back to your set.
We pulled a fingerboard dude on stage. He did fingerboarding on stage with us during all of one of our songs on tour.
Yeah.
Sold out
that's
show,
actually
like
amazing.
1,000 people. We pulled the table out and he sat up on stage and fingerboarded the whole time.
that's the other
That's
dude
the
you're willing to
coolest thing
pay
I've
out.
ever heard.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was sick.
That's absolutely incredible. Like seeing that, I feel like that would be, we talk about it for years. I would be like, I went to see a band and he made some tricks.
Look,
with a
people are
fingerboard.
playing Magic the Gathering in the pits now. People are rowboating. Nothing's off limits anymore.
Oh, definitely.
I would be scared for my cards.
Exactly.
Like I'm kind of a nerd on these things. Like depending on your deck. Okay, I won't go into that too much. I love Magic, but
I'd love to kind of talk about the new single a bit because we alluded to it earlier.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff going on with the single. Obviously it came with an album announcement as well. But your wife Jonny is actually on the track as well. Talk to us a little bit about that coming together because I know you guys have a full band together. How'd the idea to do it for the Browning come forth? I'd love to kinda hear about that.
So with even like our band, it's called the Defect. That all came about because the Browning has a bit of two sides to it. Both sides, which like all the fans love both sides. We have like this chaotic, heavy, like dark side, and then we have this like hyper melodic, like anthemic rock side. All obviously super synth based and everything, so they sound like Browning, but it's like two sides of the Browning. So mainly songs like Skybreaker, Anti-Ascendancy, and all of those have female vocals on it. I personally like female singing more than like male singing, and heavily inspired by stuff like Tattoo, Russian artists from back in the day, and like DDR and all that crap. It's actually what got me into electronic music, and so I'm just really into that style of singing. So I like doing it with the Browning, but Skybreaker is a song that kind of changed a lot in my mind because it wasn't a single. It was the last song on an album, but I would argue that it's potentially the Browning's biggest song, probably second biggest song realistically. And so being such a song that's so different, just big anthem rock song with synths, it kind of made me realize that we had a whole bunch of fans that were coming kind of to hear that song and maybe some of the softer, more melodic stuff. But then we were primarily playing like super heavy, or if people listen to the whole album or discography, they're going to mainly hear really heavy crap like deathcore. And so the thought came to mind of not sacrificing like what the Browning does as far as heaviness and making a whole second band that is just the melodic rock side of it. So that I can still write all that music and it actually just turns into more music because now I have whole albums of that sound and whole albums of this sound.
Probably experiment more in both directions. Right?
Exactly. That's why, like, especially with getting Keem on this new one, that's why the first 3 songs were so extra heavy and crap, And so the point was to make them extra heavy, extra chaotic, because the Defect is going to be even harder into the soft side, you know? And so that's why the Defect exists. It's so that I can write songs in both the styles that the Browning likes to do, but fans that like this sound can go listen to that when they want to, and not get, you know, these super heavy songs, and then vice versa. Some people don't want to hear that soft crap at all. And so, so yeah, with doing Omni, again, it's a sound that I like to do with the Browning, having the female singing and hyper melodic early 2000s techno vibe. But doing this song was, you know, obviously the sound I like to do, but it was also obviously to push the new project like as much as possible, you know?
Yeah.
And so title track to the new album, collabed with the Defect, going to get a lot of people over to the Defect's profiles and to the Spotify and everything. So, because like I want to do the full conversion to where people know to go to the Defect, but they don't know it yet. So maybe like one or two collabs with the Defect over time to make that happen, you know?
Yeah, we were kind of talking about this before we started the interview. I think we are also in an age where people are maybe more tolerant towards albums or singles having completely different vibes. I think a lot of bands are scared of doing that. Like I think to your point, I think like separating things out into different projects and different niches is what a lot of people do. But I think specifically a band like the Browning can kind of allow itself to have both, right? Because it's inherently different because of the electronic aspects. Like that's like you guys were inherently always different from the pack because of that. So
for sure. And the thing, whether it was soft or whether it was a heavy song, it sounded like the Browning because the synths, and because like, you know, if I write anything, it doesn't matter what genre it is, it probably sounds like something that I wrote. You know,
it's got your vocals on it. It's not like you're changing your voice either. You know, there's a lot of the same elements either way. Right?
Yeah. And Keem was a big part of making the song what it was too, because I was kind of hesitant depending on like how soft we wanted to make it or how much we wanted to feature the stuff. But you know, he came from a point of liking, you know, the Browning 4 sounds like that, so he really wanted to make sure that it happened like this. So.
Yeah, and again, the only, in my book, the only person you're gonna kind of disappoint is the classic metalhead who only listens to metal. It's always the same. In my
probably
book,
not listening to the Browning in the first place. Let's be honest.
and to be honest, they would be disappointed no matter what you do in general. So it's like as soon as you listen, most of us are listening to many kinds of music, right? Like I listen to freaking country, pop punk, whatever. Like, so if you diversify and you try other things, it might be even like more of a, you know, bigger experience for your audience. I don't feel like it's scary for sure, but if you do it right, you're just going to reach more people. And, you know, the only people who's going to be disappointed are the same who would still be disappointed no matter what you do. And that's what I think.
Yeah. And like, with on Keem's side, like the biggest thing he's kind of helping with is helping steer the songs in the direction that like maybe the average deathcore person that was turned off by the Browning before might be more interested to listen now. And so, because there are, I can understand why someone that likes like Whitechapel or something might not want to listen to the Browning, and that's fine. But maybe we can do things in a way where that person would be totally down with it. And so Keem's kind of helping push things in that sort of way.
How do you see it, Keem? Because I kind of see it too as like when I heard Poison, I was like, oh, okay, this is a lot more of a deathcore song than I was expecting. And I think mostly because I think I would have kind of attributed a lot of the Browning style to maybe more metalcore, I guess, than deathcore in a lot of the past material. But this one made it very clear that it had like certain deathcore, not necessarily tropes, but you know, some of the breakdowns were very kind of new deathcore sound type of stuff, and even some of the stuff you do on vocals, Jonny. So some of the tones that you do that are kind of like in the new wave of deathcore in terms of sound. But Keem, I'd love to know kind of how you kind of came into it and how you see the deathcore side within the Brownings. I know you're a big MySpace deathcore kid.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that about his vocals, because I've been trying to tell him for like the longest, like with the Browning, like I felt like he was holding himself back because his range, like he has a crazy range, but he just doesn't like to use it. So especially with like Poison, like and like the middle breakdown, like he just showed like a little bit of it, which people loved, and people was like, oh snap, I didn't know the Browning was like this heavy or stuff like that. Or even when we did this last tour, there was like, I would never expect the Browning to like sound like this. It's like, you know, come to a show, you know, you get the feel. You need to really feel it, because it's a different experience seeing it live than like listen to it on like Spotify or something like that. But yeah, especially this new stuff is gonna be crazy. Like,
yeah, with the vocals, it's like I have always kind of like dialed my vocals back to a degree with the Browning, just because I always write the music first, and I'm a musician before I'm a vocalist. Like I never wanted to cover up anything that was happening with a bunch of vocals and whatnot. But with the modern state of deathcore or just the heavy music, I think being heavier is the way to go now. But not only that, like these crazy vocal parts that can go viral, like vocals are what's making bands more viral now than anything. Where before, I don't really think that was the case. I think a strong, powerful vocalist backed by crazy music is what used to be more sought after, where now people just want these wild vocals. And so I have a secret project that I have on the back burner that Keem says I'm never going to release, but I swear to God, that crap's coming out soon.
he's never going to release it.
Yeah, whenever I showed him the song, he didn't even believe it was me on vocals, and he had no idea that I could sound like that. So he said, you need to start doing some stuff like that in the Browning. And just the point of that project was to literally just show vocals, like show what I could do vocally. And he said, just do it in the Browning too. Like, why not? And so, yeah, this is the song, or the album is 10 songs, and 7 of the songs have pig squeals on it. So
hell yeah. I mean, yo, we also look, we mostly talk about MySpace deathcore on here, so we have to talk about inhales while we're talking about vocals here, because you've always been very upfront about doing inhales and you know how you can hold them for really long and how it doesn't hurt you and all these things. But you know, we always have these conversations how a lot of people kind of get it twisted, how you know inhales are bad and or they hate the sound or whatever. But we grew up on that shit, so we're like we're accustomed to it. I mean, Yan still does inhales mostly to this day, and I started my musical path by only doing inhales as well. So I'd love to know, maybe just kind of have a chat about what your thoughts, I guess, are on inhales. I know you do more than just inhales now for the lows. It shows in just inhales.
Yeah,
that's cool, because I think more now. No, well, I mean, even more so impressive then, because I think a lot of inhales sound less enunciated. There's like T's and S's and stuff that are harder to kind of capture, whether it be live or on recording. But I mean, cool. Talk to us about that. Like, what's your approach to inhales?
I mean, I think that the whole inhale stuff is one of the biggest misconceptions and stupid stigmas that anyone like does in the metal scene. I think it's stupid as crap, and I think that there's vocalists out there that are big vocalists that are lying that they don't do inhales, and I think they do. That just because they don't want people to talk crap on them. And actually, I know people were talking about it in chat before I joined, but I joined as Blood Earns Black in like 2009 through like this open vocal audition thing that they did. And won the whole vocal contest that they had, got in, went to LA. We were about to go on tour, practicing everything all good. And then just randomly, like right before we were about to go on tour, I said, like, you guys know I do all inhales? They were like, what? They're like, you have to change that. I'm like, why? What are you talking about? Like, why would I change it?
You guys like this shit.
Exactly. Like, you like the way I sound. I'm sitting here doing it. You had no idea until I told you. Why? They're like, well, we can get you vocal lessons. We can, like, all this stuff. What? And yeah, exactly. I'm like, no, I'm not looking to do anything like that. And like I never left that band. That's not why I left the band or anything like that. But even that just goes to show that the stigma, it just makes no sense at all. So people can like it, people can be all about it. The second you tell them how you do it, they will freak out about it, right? It's stupid.
No, but it's like I never got it because I swear every day, maybe you saw it, right? Like we're talking on Instagram, maybe you saw my post, but like I do these over the tops like that, and I make sure they sound like nails, right? So people are like very upset, and some people are like they send me a message, but like kind of a be careful, you're gonna hurt yourself. And I'm like, I never hurted myself. I hurt myself way more with Excels in my life, like 1,000% more with Excels. Never in my life.
That's my
they
biggest thing.
never hurt.
I say it all the time. Like anytime I get on the topic or people say that, I'm like, okay. I mean, look at me. The Browning has done over 1,000 shows on tour, right? And we were doing like 300 shows a year for like 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row.
2012 and 13 was fucking wild
nonstop.
For touring for you guys. Yeah.
And so it's just like people, I mean, Justin Bieber freaking had to get throat surgery, you know? Yeah. So like, what about freaking Inhale vocals makes it seem like there's more injury whenever, you know, Jonathan Davis throat surgery, like these rock singers get it. So like, right, exactly.
Any workshop.
So every single vocalist, they've all had to get throat surgery or had throat problems. So like, it's just extreme vocals in general are bad for your throat. And so, but no, I don't blow my voice out at all with inhales, not even close. And my inhales are loud as crap too. Like, we were touring with Last 10 Seconds of Life, and I told Wyatt, the guitarist, that I did inhales. He didn't believe me. He said, do it right now. And I did it right there, and he still didn't believe me. Like, and with no mic standing right in front of him, and he still didn't believe me. He thought I was still joking. And so I don't know. How I blow my voice is like you just said, is with exhales. So some of the songs have like pitch scales and like singing in it. That I obviously would do exhale, like any singing or like a pitched yell type thing, or me yelling at the crowd is 100% how I blow my voice on tour. Whenever I get on,
probably talking after the shows or like whispering to people is probably
that's
worse.
How I blow my voice. It's nothing to do with the inhale vocals. And so I think it's just a massive misconception and a big stigma that should be gotten rid of. Because if you just think the person sounds bad, it's just because maybe they sound bad, not because of the technique they're using. You know, I mean, it's also personal preference. Like I think that Brooke Reeves on Nailed Dead Risen sounds sick,
fucking insane,
and it's all inhales. But he also sounds sick once he switched to exhales. So it's like it's all personal preference.
Exactly.
The first vocals I ever learned was Waking the Cadaver. That's how I got into it, which is probably why I love pig squeals, and that's the first vocal I learned how to do. So.
Dude, like when I'm always gonna remember, like a few months ago, I was still like kind of not scared, but like my inhales were my best vocals. That was the only part that people would be like, oh wow, your vocals. So like, and I was like, I don't know, like people always shit on it. And Done From Waking is just like, dude, I've been doing inhales since forever. Like just ignore whatever the hell people are saying and do your fucking thing. And I was just like, why am I holding? But like, I'm just gonna like don't like it.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
It's crazy that it goes. It's crazy that it goes even to the point of like a band not even necessarily not enjoying the vocals, but just because the stigma that the band would receive from having an inhale vocalist, you know, like that's how crazy it is. I don't know. I've always found that fascinating.
There's someone I freaking know exactly in mind. I've talked to Keem about it. I know this fool's lying about it. I know it. And he is very adamant about lying about this crap. And I'm like, dude.
The one that says he exhales the most.
Yeah, exactly. Like, dude, I know you don't, because also we toured with this band and the merch guy was talking crap on him for inhales. And I'm like, okay. And I don't know. I don't understand. Like, why do you care? And if someone throws a fit about it, like whatever, because the standard listener too, you could tell them I do fry screams, I do inhales, I do this, and they have no freaking clue what you're talking about. They just think it sounds cool. So who cares?
Yeah, that's the thing also, and I'm just gonna say that. Like I saw in the chat, like easy to learn, hard to master. I think it's well said because there's a lot of people like there's not one way to do inhales, and it's not like you cannot pick it up in 2 minutes and sound perfectly in inhales. I mean, like any techniques, you have to practice it and stuff. So like most people shitting on it, can they really do it properly? You know what I mean? Like are you sounding like as I'm sounding with all due respect?
Right.
And most of the time the answer is going to be no. So it's like, can you really pull it off like done from waking or real inhales and stuff? So it's easy to talk, but can you know what I mean? Can you really do it? So if you sound cool, who cares?
100%. Yeah, I used to record bands full time. And I was recording this local band from Kansas City, and they had 2 vocalists. One that did like highs and one that did lows. And whenever the one that did lows came up, they were like, "Hey, just so you know, he does inhales," and they all started laughing and stuff. And I go, "I do all inhales too." And then they all like started cracking up like hardcore. And I'm like, "I'm serious." And they again wouldn't believe me. And there's just such a stupid stigma about it. I actually hit up the old girl charismatic voice because she's doing like those deep dives on vocals. And I'm like, I want to do like a big outing thing, a big video talking about it and showing a whole bunch of stuff about inhales. And it would be cool to do it like on the level that she does stuff and put it out there. She liked my messages, but obviously never hit me up after that. But so I really
I'd keep trying. That would be such a cool collab, and I think that'd be a great fucking video for sure.
I just want to say something also about inhales. Something that they're never gonna admit. Some people in like classic death metal are doing it also. I just want to bring that up. Like there's some sick, crazy death metal bands mostly doing inhales, and like it works. Like people don't shit on them somehow. It's okay.
I mean, there's sounds that you can't make it exhale, you know, or they don't sound as good, you know? And so it's like, why not do it? It's just freaking stupid noises that we're making. So, you know, why does it matter?
Exactly. But it's the same thing. I feel like people are doing that with a lot of stuff, right? Like I just did like a top drummers type thing because I want to also put the spotlight on other members than even if I love vocals. And so many people were like, they're using triggers. I'm like
2024, brother.
Like, come on. Like, my question is always like, let's see you then. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy. Do it without it and sound like that, you know? So it's just, I feel like there's always kind of, yes, but they do that.
Yeah.
Just, I'm always like, okay, who fucking cares,
now,
dude? Like
with vocals, actually adding Keem's vocals is the first time anyone else has ever sang on Browning songs. People don't know this. Keem used to be a vocalist in a band. And was it More Than You Can Bear? Is that the name of the band?
Yeah.
But it's Bear like Bear, right?
Okay, there we go.
You guys should listen
Keem
to
doesn't
it.
seem embarrassed at all right now.
It's straight up MySpace deathcore. Sounds like a ripoff Browning, but like,
wow.
Yeah, his vocals are really good. He has these almost like Mitch Looker type highs, these super distorted, like really nice highs. And so I always avoided.
Where are those on the Browning?
Well, that's what we're starting to import because like I can do high highs, but I don't personally like doing them because mine don't sound as like intense. And so like Poison, a lot of Keem's vocals in there. Hive Mind.
I love the back and forth, by the way, just for the dynamic, right?
Exactly.
And for live, it's so cool too, just having the back and forth.
Yeah, same with Hive Mind, like he's doing those chants super distorted, like, and so we're adding a lot of Keem's vocals into the stuff, and especially live. And so he's I like Keem's vocals.
All inhale,
thank you.
he is the opposite of inhale.
Unfortunately, I'm an exo vocalist.
Yeah, he has the maximum amount of air usage possible.
That's cool, man. I love to hear it, man. It's cool. I don't know if you'd have any. Maybe we can close off the inhale topic with this. I'd love to maybe nerd out real quick about like I was talking about the enunciations and like the T's and the S's and the kind of sounds that aren't inherently something you do when you're sucking in air.
So here's the cheat code for that, because there are sounds that are absolutely impossible to make inhale, obviously. S's, all that. Now, if I'm ending a word on an S or a T, it's
you can
actually
do it. Yeah.
it's actual exhale T or S that comes at the end of a word. And it just happens naturally. I don't even think about it. But on record, I punch in S's and T's and THs. So I have a file that's, and so I literally put them in there on record. Live, you would never hear it. You would never know.
Yeah.
That you couldn't hear those sounds, but on record, there's some S's and T's punched in there just to really make it. Now I used to be really adamant about doing it a lot. I would go through every single TH, every single S, but not anymore. Especially with the music being so fast and heavy and aggressive. If it's a fast part, no one's gonna tell the difference anyways. It's just like something that, if it's a big line right before a breakdown, I'm gonna put a T or an S in it if I have to. Live, no one knows the freaking difference. On record, there's a couple of them punched in there. I used to be super adamant about it. I used to try way harder on all the Browning records on every aspect of it, and that's not happening anymore. And it's the best music that we've had. So, you used to chop every single chug of a breakdown and move it to where it needs to be, and people would not be happy, producers, if I told them how these guitars and everything was tracked or how the vocals were tracked or anything. So the Browning is, I've kind of, End of Existence, the last album was one that I kind of really came into a lot of realization of just write what I'm going to write, make it sound how it's going to sound, and then just let it be. And especially try to make it heavier, like the live performances. So louder guitars, more raw vocals. A lot of the vocals on a lot of these songs are one take, like full sections and stuff. I don't punch into parts like I used to or anything like that. And so it's a lot more raw, and I think that you can kind of feel it more than some of the old stuff might have been.
Well, you've been doing your music. Yeah. You've been recording yourself since the very beginning, right? Like you kind of started off that way. So it's kind of, I guess things you learn also probably just from doing it, but like you guys have put out a lot of material at this point. You guys have done studio albums though too, right?
Yeah.
But do you fully demo everything ahead of time, or because you can? Or
that's why I've gone away from them, because I'll do I don't know, 5,000 hours of work on something before getting the studio, and then the person, you pay them $15,000 to retract the guitars that are already tracked or something. So, and
to do it in a way you don't enjoy as much, probably.
Especially for Hypernova, that album actually made me mad. So our Burn This World, going in the studio with Josh from Random Awesome, was one of the best experiences I've ever had. I think anyone that records with Josh from Random Awesome will tell you that.
You guys were there early too.
Yeah,
for Josh.
Sure. Yeah, we were one of the first quote unquote bigger bands for Josh or whatever. And he's just the best dude, one of the best producers, and just best people in general. So that was one of the best experiences, was mixing with him or recording with him. But then immediately after leaving his studio, I went and mixed with someone else. Not a good experience. Terrible. So Josh recorded and mixed with someone else. And I'm just not even going to talk about it because the person's still relevant. So, and then the second album, Hypernova, I'm not joking whenever I say that the person was in studio, the producer was in studio for 2 hours a day, and the whole rest of the time was me sitting at his computer.
Wait,
yeah,
what?
I'm not joking. And so, and
is that you being too controlling, or is that him being a lazy sack of shit?
Well, it was me being controlling, but him at the same time, just being oh, go ahead, and then just leave. Where I'm well, maybe we could do this right here, and instead of him being okay, let's try that, it's just okay. And how it was every day, it was he would track the crap that I had already tracked, and then he would dip, and then he would say, okay, do what you want with it, and then we'll finish a couple things in the morning. And then he'd show up in the morning, maybe make sure my chops and my cuts and stuff are fine or whatever. And so after you do that, so many times you just want to stop paying people tens of thousands of dollars to do stuff. And so then it was my our longtime drummer Cody Stewart. He's a full-time producer.
He's awesome.
Yeah, and so he did the mix. I did everything, and then he just helped really make the drums, guitars, vocals all sound really big and heavy. And then so that was like a duo between me and him. And since he's in the band, he was willing to sit there with me for however long it took to dial the crap in and whatever.
Yeah. He probably gets it more too, right? Being in the band, like he knows what you guys are going for.
Yeah, working with me is still really annoying for him, but yeah, he was able to deal with it.
He tolerates you at least.
Yeah, and so with this album, it was kind of the best solution for that because also I don't want to be annoying to him, and he's really busy. And so what we did on this record is he actually set up a mix template on my computer, and then I just took it from there. So he sat with me with Poison, which was the first single, and then he created a mix template with Poison, and then I just applied that template to every other song, and then I've just done all of them from there. So
yeah. That's cool though. It's cool that you guys were able to manage like a workflow that works for everyone, right? Like ultimately that's what matters. Like it's not really like who you pay or how it gets done or who does what. Right. It's like as long as it gets done, right?
Definitely. And I just it's with how particular I am, I'll have a song finished for 3 weeks and listen to it 500 times, and then it's totally different 3 weeks later. Like even with Keem, it was a Defect song actually, one of the first ones. The first song, Defiance. It was like we were trying to work with Fixed's producer. Fix is our label. We were trying to work with him, and I think by the time we were on like revision 20, I think he started realizing what the problem was. And so, he sends his final mix, and then I'm like, okay, I'm doing this mix. I'm applying this Browning mix template to Defect now. And so, did that. Everything turns out totally fine. But then even once that was done, this was probably about a month and a half after starting the mix process, maybe 2 months. And then Keem randomly, there was this one melody, that happens in the middle of the song. It's like, you should intro the song with that little melody. And I'm like, oh, and then I restructured the entire song, and the whole song's completely different. Whereas if I would have just accepted the first mix from the first producer, song would be totally different. 100% totally different. So I have to do this crap myself because I'm down to the wire, the last second changing crap. And I've been with Keem.
Does that stress you out, Keem? He doesn't learn. You don't learn the parts until they're out.
It didn't stress me out until I was like there with him. We was like working on a song for like 5 hours. Oh, yeah. We was going in on it. And he was like, no, it sucks. I'm like, what? And then wait, I think that was OMNI.
We had 3 songs that night that got scrapped. And then we came up with the initial melody for OMNI.
Yeah.
And so the initial melody for OMNI came out that night. So there we go. It worked out. That's how it is, you have to grind it out. But yeah, all the time actually where the album like had to be turned in fully within like a week, not even a week. It was like 5 days. Yeah. And I told him, I've said, we're not putting this freaking song on the record. It's not happening, and he was definitely stressing about that one. It's a good song. It's a good song, but like the album as a whole was missing something,
Right.
And so I dug through files I save all my files. And so I dug through files and found this one from probably 5 years ago that I was working on someone's I used to write intros for people's Twitch channels. And it was an intro that likely I started writing it for the person. I was like, this is too good to give to them. So move that to the side.
My bad, guys.
Yeah. And so write them something different. I do that a lot. And so it was one of those. And that is now my favorite song on the record. And it's the next music video to come out. And so literally within the last 5 days, scrapped a song and then found an old file and got a whole new song together. So up to that last minute, I need to be able to work on that stuff. And if I have to send files and mix notes back and forth to someone, that's not happening. Absolutely not.
What would happen if you had no deadlines?
Right. That'd be sick. I mean, this is the first time I've ever had deadlines.
Okay.
Actually. And so this is a new thing that that's why a lot of the albums did have so much time in between. And as a lot of people in the chat, these people have watched me write the past 3 albums live. Like I stream all the writing process and stuff. So they know how long the scrap takes me sometimes. And so having the deadlines for this is a new thing for me, for sure.
Blessing and a curse, probably.
Yeah, I would say so.
Sure.
I have a question, and I kind of know the answer. I still want to ask it, because when I'm in the back and forth with the producer type thing, it happens to me that like I focus on something that I know nobody would ever notice, but like you still have to change it, or like to like when you have something in mind, it's like you hyper focus on the smallest detail, but like you'd rather not release it than release it with that small detail. Does that happen to you a lot?
Keem says
that's
to me,
Johnny 110%. So here's how his stems work. He'll have 300 stems just for synth, right? And if one of those stems are off, he's like, I can hear it. It bothers me. It just bothers the crap out of me. And like he'll work on that one thing until it's like perfect. Like he's anal.
Well, here's my thought with that. Okay, here's the thing is like, nobody else on this planet is going to have to listen to these songs in 50 years but me, because no one's going to give a crap about the Browning in 50 years besides me on my deathbed. Not even Keem. Right, exactly. I'm going to be on my deathbed and be like, this is my life's work, and I'm still going to listen to it, and I'm still going to hear that little like click artifact because I didn't crossfade out an audio file. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So like it's
there forever if you don't
100%.
It's there.
That's what it is. So I'm 100% that way because like I notice it, and so I'm gonna have to listen to it forever, and I don't want to be bothered by it. But it is also a new thing that I'm working on of not caring so much, or at least attempting to a degree. Especially lyrics. Lyric is the thing that takes me absolutely the longest to do. Because I am not I'm a vocalist, but I'm not a lyricist to any degree. And so I would always be way too particular, and then I'll hear freaking, I'll read lyrics from some other band. I'm like, does this mean anything? Does anyone care? Like, what is this sentence? And so actually the Twitch chat helps me a lot. Or they're not on Twitch now, we stream on Discord, but they help a lot with lyrics. I'll do a live stream and I'm like, everyone start putting sentences into the chat right now. Like
that's
I need
coolest
words.
Thing though, because they build with you.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
That's awesome though.
And Keem helped a lot with lyrics too.
Way back. Y'all did the Stickam days, like
we did. We really did.
I was like streaming before streaming.
Yeah, I was with Josh at Josh's studio for Burn This World. We live streamed the whole recording process while we were in the studio with Josh. We had people buying us pizzas and crap on the stream. Honestly impressive though, if you think about it. Like, we had like 40 people in a stream in 2010. Like
streaming wasn't a thing then. It just wasn't.
Legit. Yeah. But yeah, no, I started streaming the writing process, like really streaming it for Geist, because it was like, it would force me to write. Not that I don't want to write music, but it sometimes is so stressful that it's hard to sit down and actually just do it. And so if people expected me to be on stream to write, then I would write, And so it was really became a big part of my writing process. I still do it to this day, stream the writing process and everything. And
people love that sort of stuff, the behind the scenes. I'm sure even with Josh, it's kind of particular. I think even specifically in the producing world, like maybe now you've got more things. People are a little bit more open. You got Nail to Mix and stuff like that, URM. But like back then, I feel like, it was very, producers would like to keep their secrets and their tricks, so to be able to actually stream that whole process is kind of just that in itself is pretty cool.
Definitely. I like it too, because every time I start on these big writing sprees to finish albums, a lot of people in my Discord get like highly motivated and they start writing music and start doing stuff too, because just seeing the process, it gets them excited or makes them want to write because they watch how I do it. And it's a big question that people have, especially for something that's as complicated as the Browning, because maybe when people listen to it on the back end, like that doesn't sound complicated, but that crap's complicated. Like, and whenever Keem says 300 channels of synth, he's not joking. And so it's like crap. It's complicated.
Yeah, sorry. It's an art to be able to make it sound not complicated. That's what people don't realize. Like sometimes, very often, when it sounds catchy and simple, this is where the work was, and people don't know that because it sounds simple, but like you know, there's a reason why you know, pop music and stuff like that resonates with that many people. Like we think it's just because it's at the radio, but like creating hooks, creating memorable stuff, it's like way more difficult than what people think.
And it's, you know, I think people might take for granted how hard it is to make a synth sound natural in a metal song, you know, or to sound like it's supposed to be there, which is one of my biggest complaints about like the early days of like when electronic like metalcore and stuff started popping out. It always to me sounded like an afterthought with all these bands. You know, a lot of bands that get the credit for, you know, being the big bands that did synth in their music back in the day, Attack, Ask Now, Andrea, that stuff. It always sounded like a complete afterthought, where it's like, you know, even whenever I was writing Browning music in 2004, it was the point, the purpose. Like I start with synths and try to make the metal work with it. And so it's like, it's hard to make that crap blend proper. And especially like, you know, with this new era and working with Keem on the stuff to try to make it more accessible to more metal fans. It's then especially really hard to still have synths 100% of the time, but have them really not be off-putting. Because before I was like, F it, I'll put whatever synth I want in there, and you know that's what it's gonna be. I don't care if you can hear the guitar.
Keep telling you to pump the brakes.
Yeah, they're like, we can't hear the guitar. I'm like, good. What are you talking about?
Like,
That's what I want. I'm curious though. We're talking about, you know, Attack and Asking. Well, to me, Asking kind of did it a little better than Attack, but still, I get your point. Like it was really over the top and kind of just like in your face type thing. You would only hear the synths almost type thing. But what did you think about? Because to me, Winds of Plague did it pretty well for the time. Like, what was your opinion on Winds of Plague? Not to put you on the spot. I'm just curious.
No, I mean, I loved Winds of Plague back then, especially as an Inhale vocalist. You know, he was a big Inhale vocalist. But I think that the orchestras is another thing. I think that is pretty easy. But I think that they were one of my favorite bands back then, for sure. Keem also, he was Devil Wears Prada, his favorite band. And, you know, they had a lot of synthesizers and everything too. I think that it was just the production, the time that everything was, but I just was not a fan of, especially back then, I was like against arpeggiators. I'm like, no, I'm going to really make this synth. I'm not going to freaking push a button, you know? And so whenever all the big bands that were doing it were using like arpeggiators and stuff, which, you know, now I'm all about it. Like like taking an arpeggiator to another level of like, how can I manipulate this arpeggiator itself to make some crazy sounds? So I don't know. I just think that my problem with electronics and metal a lot was that there wasn't like seemingly like serious bands doing it, at least in America. Now we can get on a really big talk about like the different regions of music and why they're so distinctive from each other. But in America, there was no like serious sounding bands that were using synthesizers properly. And so where all my influence from electronic music comes from Europe and comes from, you know, Netherlands, Germany, you know, all of that. And I think that all the bands there are way ahead of all the bands here electronically.
Even the bands that were doing similar-ish stuff to the Browning, a lot of it was German or from that general area, the Henny Calls and the We Butter the Bread with Butter and stuff like that. Yeah. It's true. Like you think back, like it was either like over the top, like post-hardcore, basically, you know, like but in the more like metal stuff, it was either like Nintendo core, which wasn't really the same thing either. I don't know.
hardcore,
It was a weird time back then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It is a weird era, but you had, to your point, like non-serious, but like Horse the Band, stuff like that. That was like, it was always kind of jokey or
the synth bands were always not serious. And I think that's honestly don't necessarily want to say like an issue that the Browning has had, but a thing that confuses people about the Browning is a mismatch in sound versus image versus like tone. And so it's like a very serious sounding band that uses synthesizers and has a goofy name, right? Yeah. And so it's like, it's not everything is fully serious, but not everything is like, not serious. And so that's a bit of a mismatch where people would think, oh, an electronic metal band, okay, I'm going to go listen to this and have some fun. And then we're talking about the destruction of, the human race and all this sort of crap, And so it's like a little bit mismatch on that. And so it's definitely something that we're trying to do in the modern version of the Browning to, as a whole, make everything about it seem more serious, so that there's not a mismatch in sound, tone versus image versus everything. And so but yeah, the early stages when synths was getting really big in metal, I was heavily involved in the Nintendo core scene because there just wasn't any other place to be involved if you were putting,
that's where I found the Browning personally. It was all through all that stuff, the IM errors and all that.
Exactly. And so, I wanted to be, my goal was to be the most electronic band, but also the only heavy, dark, electronic metal band, at least in the States at the time. Because I don't know, you get the stuff like In Flames, they've been doing synths in the music forever. That stuff is dark and serious sounding, or Rammstein. And you get all these European bands, Children of Bodom or whatever, all this sort of crap that was way more serious sounding. And so
I think if you look at your guys' touring, all of that makes a lot of sense too, right? I think the Browning has always toured with, stuff like Mushroom Head and Fear Factory and Soilwork and these types of bigger, I don't know. I always say I always say festival bands, I see the Browning as a band that kind of fits in nicely with a bunch of different styles as well, but definitely the Chimera, stuff like that. There's the more serious, top heavy bands, right? You guys toured with a lot of those bands, especially early on. Was that an influence at all? Was that how was that for you in the early days, touring with such big bands at that point?
Honestly, there's a lot of reasons for doing those tours versus core tours. And a lot of it is industry politic bullcrap. And we did some tours with heavy bands. We toured at Oceano, Impending Doom. We've done stuff like that, even For All Those Sleeping way back in the day. Our first tour in the States was with Moss to Flames, which both of us were absolute freaking, there's 5 people at every one of those shows. But a lot of it was just the people that I was able to work with at the time versus what sort of tours were they able to get, especially your booking agent is a big determining factor on if they, because how any tours get booked, a booking agent sends an email blast out to every booking agent that they have and say, hey, Motionless in White is looking for support, submit your bands. And then, but if your booking agent isn't on that email chain, you're not getting submitted. You're not getting on that tour. Right. So a lot of our managers, we were managed. Well, I fired every manager I've ever had. So we've switched a lot of managers, but we've been managed by
I see a theme here, Johnny.
Right. We were managed by Fear Factory management. We were booked by Nightwish booking agent. We were booked by all the just a bunch of different stuff that wasn't relevant to core stuff. And maybe it was because the Browning was so weird that the standard. Now the thing is, we were with Artery Foundation for a while. We were with Outer Loop, which were big core things, but I think that it was too weird to place it with any of their bigger like standard metalcore bands. They were putting together like normie metalcore packages and stuff. And so to throw the Browning into the mix would be a little weird, or maybe it wasn't getting their political things they wanted done with, like, well, we got this new band that's up and coming that we need to get out with this, you know, that sort of stuff. Because the Brownings never, the Brownings never been
as a
seen
blessing
as
or curse.
I mean,
like, do you see that as a good thing or a bad thing? Because it's the other option could have been that you guys can't get on the core tours, and so you have no tours,
right?
Right?
No, yeah, and so there's a lot of benefits for those tours that I would say. So, a lot of metalcore, even in the modern world, is like based around hype, like 100%. The hype stuff is all that matters. Whereas like if you're touring with Mushroomhead, every person at that show is a freaking diehard.
Yeah.
That loves music
bands.
And they love to come out and see these bands that they will support for the end till the end of time. So we tour with a lot of these bands that just have the most diehard fans. I'd say Mushroomhead probably tops everybody with the most dedicated freaking people that come out. And the Mushroomhead tours is the most people I've ever had come up to me. I saw you guys with Mushroomhead. I saw you guys with Mushroomhead. Them and Ginger are the two bands that we've toured with that have the most return people. Any core tour we did, no, doesn't matter. Right. If you're not the hype band on the bill, doesn't matter. If you're not
Smoke
up and coming and wear leather boots and look like all like cute on stage or whatever, doesn't matter. And so like metalcore is so based around hype and stuff, where these other types of bands just have long lasting, like really dedicated fans, which I'm not saying metalcore people can't be fans of stuff, you know, but they very much jump around to whatever is cool in the moment.
They look at what Keem put up on his channel, and that's that's what they like that month.
Hey, that's a fact.
Yeah. So I don't know. I see it as been a benefit because there's been a lot of hyped up freaking metalcore bands that the Browning has outlasted somehow, even though we've never had a hype moment ever, not once. Right. So,
I mean, you're saying that like you don't have multiple videos over 1 million views, but you know.
Well, but then you look at some of these hype bands and they have one video that's 20 million views.
Yeah.
Like we don't hit that, and we probably aren't ever, and that's fine. You know, because I've been totally fine with this slow grind up there, you know, and I think that this could be our moment for a lot of reasons that we've just stuck it out. You see a lot of bands that are like middle of the package touring bands for a long time. Attila is a good example. They were a middle of package touring band for a long time, and then they had a breakout album, and now they're a headliner perpetually forever, right?
Yeah.
And so if we do things right and we put out really good enough music, I think is what it comes down to. Even when you look at a band like Attila, you know, I think that when they finally put out the right music is when they really blew up. You know, they put out their best music they did and they blew up. And so, or Lorna Shore, perfect example. You know, they were an opening band for a long time. Yeah. And then they opened for us in Rings of Saturn. And then they put out the best music they'd ever put out, and they freaking blew up. So as long as you stick with it, I think everything inevitably works out.
Do you think people are more ready for a sound like the Browning in 2024 also than like in 2005?
What are you thinking?
Do I think people are more ready for like
more receptive maybe?
Yeah, to like this kind of music in general, because I think back in the day it was more novel. It was I think you liked it or you hated it. I think people are maybe a little bit more accepting, but I'm not in the band, so I don't know how people really perceive it. I just feel like there's a lot more electronic in music altogether now.
Right.
Like even
More
bands
open.
that wouldn't brand themselves as bands with electronic music still have a lot of production that comes down to that sort of stuff. So I don't know, I'm just kind of curious.
I think it's more perceptive because it's like no matter what band you are, like the social media thing right now is getting like tons of fans just off of like posting like a reel. So I think it's more perceptive because you're going to get new listeners. But I think like the people who've been listening to music for like a while and like they're like grounded into, oh, I don't like electronics in my metal. They probably won't change, or they'll be like, oh, I like one song by them. Like a lot of people a lot of people that didn't like the Browning before like Poison, and that's all they like, which I'm totally fine with. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, we won them over with one. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that like the electronics is just like a way more prominent part of just music in general now. I mean, you get songs on mainstream radio, Shine
Yeah.
Down using synths, or anything like that. Starset being one of the biggest rock bands out there. And so
A lot
I think,
of pop too right now.
yeah,
It's
and I
hugely
mean,
electronic focused.
you can't ignore like Electric Callboy and how giant they freaking are, and how they broke the states, because they were our first time touring in Germany with them. It freaking blew my mind. It wasn't our first tour in Europe, and so we already had like a really big base there. And they were headlining this tour, and they invited us over. They paid us a lot, which I was like, that's crazy. That's basically a headlining guarantee for us. So my thought at the time, I was like, we're like co-headlining this thing, and so I was like, dang, this is a big deal. We're getting paid good. And then the first show is sold out, 1,500 people in Stuttgart, and the crowd is just popping off, going crazy for us. And I was like, yeah, this is our show. And then the second they started, I was like, yep, no one cares about
It's their
us.
show.
Yeah. No one cares about us. Absolutely not. And so they at that moment, and for the rest of the time, that was like 2013, I think. Electric Callboy has blown my freaking mind. I think they're the best band in the world, and I always have thought that since that moment. And they were talking to me back. Our last time we toured with them was in 2018. And they were talking to me then. They were like, we can't break in the States, because even whenever we did that tour in 2013, people were like, who are you touring with? Like, why are they headlining? Like, what's this band? No one knew who they were here. And even in 2018, they were asking me like, how do you think we can try to like break in the States and have a breakout moment? I said, why? Who cares? Like, stay in Germany or everywhere else in the world
Right.
that you're just absolutely killing it. And then they stick with it. They stick to their guns, and they put out again the best, catchiest music that they'd ever done. And they actually broke in the States, and now they're like one of the biggest bands in the world. And so like, they didn't even take my advice and say, I don't like, who cares? Don't worry about the States. Who gives a crap?
Mhm.
And they stuck with it for as long as they have, and they had their viral moment. And that's what I think a lot of the modern world falls down to is, it kind of sucks, but like everybody needs to have one freaking viral moment and then capitalize.
Right.
Hardcore. Lorna Shore had one viral moment, and then they were the first freaking band out of COVID touring as much as they could. And so same with Electric Callboy. They had one viral moment, and then they just absolutely capitalized.
Same kind of time too, right? It was like both during COVID.
Exactly. They were just absolutely killing it, and both capitalized on this moment that they had. And because some people, there's been plenty of bands that have a viral moment and not capitalize properly.
That's
But they had been at it for long enough. Like you got to be ready for the viral moment, right? Like I think a lot of newer people to the game that would get instantly viral, you don't know what to do with it. You're not experienced enough. You've never toured. You don't know how to play a show. It's like
that's the biggest value now, to have eyes on you, because let's be real, the attention span of most people is pathetic now, and I'm including myself in it, by the way. Like everyone, like it's just like we have 3 seconds, I think, to to love something or not. So if you do have a moment, if people are looking at you, it's far more valuable than what people can even imagine. That's what labels are trying to offer you in general and stuff like that. So if you have a moment, the absolute last thing you got to do is sit on it and just think that that's it. Like you gotta, it's like the start almost of,
that's when
of
the
what
real
you
work
need to
starts.
do.
Yeah.
So here's the question, Keem, how does the Browning go viral?
Keep doing what we doing.
No pressure.
No, there's no pressure at all. I don't get pressured. Oh, especially with this new stuff. Yeah, there's gonna be I will say to it. There's gonna be a moment from from a song we got coming for sure.
All right.
Which one?
I think what's the song called? Misery.
The Misery?
For sure.
I think so. I think you're right. 100%.
And now we're excited.
You heard it here first. Misery.exe. I really do honestly believe that is our biggest chance that we've ever had. Is that song. and there's a lot of reasons for it. The song is crazy, and it's already out there. People can go on Spotify and look at the album track list and everything. It's featuring Nick Nocturnal, so it's a collab song with Nick.
Okay, that's awesome.
And not only is it just a collab with him, so it's gonna be in a bunch of people's eyes. He's also in the music video with us. But also the song is freaking. It has that moment in it.
Yeah,
it really does.
Because he's goofing around a lot, but he's actually extremely talented. That's what people
So good.
like. People are sleeping on that. I feel like because they see him as like a creator, like he's doing all that stuff. But like if you really pay attention, he's actually like very talented and very creative in what he does. So
Before I got Keem in the band, I tried getting him in the band. He wouldn't do it though.
You were just going for influencers. You didn't even care if they played.
Yeah, no, really, I did hit him up because we were looking for a fill-in for a tour specifically, and like I talked to a lot of different people, and he was the first person I hit up. I knew he was a fan of the Browning. He was like, "You think I'm leaving my house?" No, not happening.
Yeah, there's a reason he's not touring, right?
Yeah.
I'm the second option, but I'm the best option.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I did like really enjoy Keem, your reaction to your own video when Poison came out.
People still don't realize he's in the Browning.
Yeah, like
we've had comments when I announced this thing. I had people comment like, "Hardcore Keem is in the Browning."
It sounds like someone's not doing their job getting the word out. God dang.
Oh.
Hey, it's in my bio.
True.
And I talk about it a lot. So it's like, hey, if you're not listening.
Well, that's part of the problem with the modern world, because you need this viral moment, but the freaking algorithm is doing everything to go against you.
Oh yeah.
Like you can't say, "Hey, go check this out." It's like, "Oh, it wants people to check something out." They can't leave this website. Like, we're not going to promote that.
One of the things that really butters me with things like because it's been a while that I'm posting. I did the test on Instagram and like posting reels every day, and it works. People, just by the way, like if you post always, weirdly they kind of reward you, which is like the weirdest thing. But at the same time, it's like it puts this pressure, but you cannot promote yourself. So for a band, for example, if you say like, click on the link, then it won't push it, right? So that's the thing I don't understand with platforms. Like maybe it would be better to put it more business friendly, because there are people out there who, I wouldn't mind my favorite band telling me, "Hey, we've got this new merch, click on it." I won't be like, "Oh, you're making me click on that." Like people who follow these pages want to know that stuff and want to click on things. So I'm just like,
the downfall of social media is like, I mean, no one really uses Facebook anymore because it's gotten to that point, but it's crazy how you can have a bunch of pages liked and never see a single post from the band. Ever.
And it's your followers.
And I'm like, hey, I want this news. This is why I followed. And I think this band has been broken up because Facebook won't show them to me.
Right.
Like, what the fuck is going on?
I mean, it's ridiculous, especially like for touring. It's very difficult for a lot of reasons. But even just to freaking be able to talk about your tour is near impossible to get any reach. Like, because one thing the algorithm looks for in pictures or videos, it's like, do you have embedded text?
Yeah.
And a freaking tour flyer is a brick of text. And so it's so hard to promote a tour. You have to promote through video now. You have to run ads for stuff. And so it's like, watch, we're going to announce a tour on Monday. That post, I'd be lucky if it reaches like 1,000 people on our Facebook of 200,000 people. I'd be lucky if it reaches 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And
that's the part I don't like. I personally, I just don't see how it's better. I get why, if I'm honest. Like, it's because it's so creepy now that every application, they want to keep you on their platform, right? They're all competing together, so they don't want you to go on TikTok or anywhere else. So the second you say, "Hey, I've got this thing," in their whatever, like mechanism or whatever, they're like, "Oh, he's telling them to leave the platform. That's not good. So I know that's the reason, but at the same time, I'm like, I think you got enough people staying on the. I think you're okay. Like, I don't think something bad's gonna happen if some people are like, oh, there's this tour. Like, they're still on Instagram. They're still gonna be there tomorrow. Don't worry. And if something like your platform is more relevant because you know, people get the actual information. So like that's the part. I don't know if it's gonna change. I don't know if we're gonna have like new platforms or whatever, but it was one of the strong points of MySpace. Without even like a intelligent algorithm, at least, you know, you would get the information from what you follow or you want to see. So that's something I feel like that needs to be back.
Need one platform to do it well.
Yeah. For sure. And I think that it would probably have to be a platform that's specifically dedicated towards musicians. Spotify could utilize and their stuff a little bit better. Obviously they have the market cap and everything to be able to actually help bands promote their stuff.
The money,
properly.
probably. I mean,
I mean, if you let us run an ad to promote our tour on Spotify, I'd do it. I'd pay for that as long as it's directly relative to fans, you know.
Sure.
It would work. Like, to be honest, I would, as a, you know, I don't know, like Spotify listener, I would be glad to have updates from.
Well, obviously they have all your data. Like, so you're listening to the Browning and it pops up, hey, the Browning's coming to your area in November or whatever. And so
I think they have the tour dates now. Maybe I feel I haven't.
But you don't get notified. They should like straight notify people. But,
there could be like a whole like dedicated like other space where you could maybe see shows that are coming up within the bands that you enjoy and stuff like that.
I feel like what's missing, and I feel like for most people for MySpace, like, you know, I miss it every day pretty much, and I know we're a lot of people missing it, but like every band kind of had their own website in a cool way. So like when like it was the band's universe. Now you go on an Instagram page, it's all blend, it's all the same color, it's all the same thing. You're stuck with the platform blend, just industrial.
I pushed off switching to Facebook for so long. I like refused to do it for the longest time.
Do you miss coding? Do you miss coding and designing MySpace pages, Johnny?
That was like my favorite thing was the layouts, do the sidebars and all that bull crap. And it's my first part of self-learning Photoshop, and a lot of self-learning just pretty much everything, you know.
Because it was so cool because, like, let's say, I don't know, like any bands really like Miss May I, something like you had the opportunity when you would release it was more of just an album release. It was a change of pace. It was a change of the universe of the band. So you would arrive on the page and it was like more, I don't know if you guys remember that, but it would be kind of a continuity of the artwork. It would be like in a bigger way with other stuff on it. So you like, there was more to it. Like over time, we got less customization. How's that make any sense? That's the part
That's why a lot of bands now are really trying to build a big email list, and because it's the only way you can directly, like, somehow I get like Spirit Box emails. I've freaking no idea. Like, I don't listen to that band. I get Spirit Box emails like every other day. And so obviously that's working for them. And so it's something that bands need to try to do more. But again, you have to get people to your website in the first place. So
it's something, I don't know. Like I just miss little blogs, you know, like you could, because yes, you can do it on maybe in stories and stuff like that, but it's just not the same as like, you know, the lore of a band is missing now, you know, like you would see these blogs and like, oh shit, they're in the studio now. It's so cool. Like it was just maybe a little more special. And yes, people are probably going to tell me, it was the era. It was different. Now we're more connected. Sure. But I miss being in the band's universe, you know, like it was when you would release an album, it was huge. Like it was welcome to our world. The tour flyers would match. Everything would kind of be on par with that. It was a big thing. Now it's just like, hey, you're fighting just, you hope your fans, your follower are gonna hear about your album. You're kind of hoping. I hope it's gonna get to them. So it's
me and Keem was talking about wiping like all of our socials before the album. There's a lot of bands that do that. And I don't think it's just to be like mysterious or something. I think that it could literally be a way to just like look like fresh start. We're starting right here
Get
at
it.
the start of this album, and so we considered that. Why didn't we do that?
I get it though.
I mean, we still have time.
Want to do it? Let's do it right now on stream.
Do it right now, okay?
Everything.
We accidentally delete the whole.
So now
profile.
people are gonna think that our podcast killed your band or something. Like, what a terrible experience! They killed the Browning.
Look, y'all are mining on fucking RuneScape all day. You guys can delete some posts at the same
RuneScape.
time.
I'm
Kinda
literally
AFK
mining
about
right
those
now,
things.
yeah.
There we go.
Oh, I saw this interview 100% as an hour and a half of mining XP. Just believe that.
I love it.
That's perfect. No, but it's something I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be surprised if like something maybe different, but something a bit like MySpace, like more artist focused, because music is such a big thing. Like we have things for gaming, right?
Right.
So it would make sense that if we would have like maybe a platform just for music.
Yeah,
and,
well,
and
like Johnny
artists.
said, like, you know, I think the easiest thing would be if Spotify did something,
it
right?
would
Because
make
you've already
sense.
got the
Yeah.
user base and all these things. But it's your
and
point.
everyone's
I think,
on it. So
I think
it's just-
everything after MySpace was kind of almost against having music on their platform.
Yeah.
Like there's never been a music player on any of these fucking
Weird.
websites. Like
It's so
you had
fucking
to kind of MacGyver some sort of external app to maybe have music on your Facebook back in the day. And,
Right.
and it worked. It was half-assed and you couldn't get it to work. I don't know. It's always been a hassle for musicians ever since.
Just a page
MySpace,
also that
but-
you can put like you're having the page, you have the new videos, stuff like that. Like sure, now you can post like little reels and whatever, but it's just not as it's not like a one-time impact thing. It's like you post a reel and it's like some people are gonna see it, and then the next day it's kind of gone type
Right.
thing. It's like
That's
if
the
you
other
miss
reason
it,
why
you
people
miss it.
don't mind wiping their stuff is anything that's
Yeah.
like older on
Right.
a social platform is kind of irrelevant. Like it doesn't matter if it's
Right.
gone. You know, I thought that, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? Like people don't give a fuck about nuking everything they have on their social platform. It
Yeah.
just does not matter that much.
Right.
That's
It's
wild.
not a good sign.
Yeah, and I mean, like for me, maybe it is just more personal. Like I would feel like I was like losing something if I couldn't go back and scroll through posts or whatever.
Absolutely.
But it would actually make sense for a band like us to do it with this
The new stuff.
with like a new era of like everything. And so it would make sense, but
Yeah.
we'll see if we do it. It's kind of it
Give
is
me the
kind of
word.
tricky. Huh?
It's a big thing still.
I mean, I can archive it. Like archive it still. It's
I
still
was
around.
about to say
You
that.
still bring
Yeah.
it back, yeah. But
Yeah.
but it's still. I think it that's like a bigger conversation of like, you know, content disappearing, right? Like for you archive it, you still have access to it, but anyone else doesn't anymore.
But I would doubt there would be one single. It'd be surprised if there's one single person be like, "Yo, like I look at your posts, like I go back and look at all your posts all the time."
I'm on Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
Every single day. I'll
Yeah.
just say that much, right? And I just think it's just a slippery slope, right? Because we have like so much music that doesn't exist anymore. It's just
Right.
gone.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the void.
That
you know,
makes
so
me mad actually.
right. So that's just like I feel in that same kind of territory where like there's like this thing that you used to be able to access and now you can't. It's just
Right.
I don't know, there's like an uneasy feeling that comes with that. I feel.
I'm curious to get to know your opinion on that. I firmly believe that if they would have never, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like when they deleted MySpace stuff, like they could have left it like that. I feel like if it would have stayed as it was, you know, with the music playing, with the art being, you know, everything works, I think we would be back on it.
I said that it was their responsibility to keep that crap. Like personally, because I try to. There's some music that was the only place that it existed. You know,
photos too, you know,
just
like old
everything.
photos
Yeah,
and-
exactly. I've even up to probably this year tried to somehow still get on MySpace and like, can I find it anywhere? Is there any way to see this stuff? And same with Pure Volume. Pure Volume deleted all their music too. And
I
that
just
was
don't get it.
Yeah, that was another space that I uploaded a lot of music on that is nowhere else to exist. But yeah, I don't know. I do think they should have had that because it is kind of crazy thinking back on how old the Browning realistically is. Like this year or next year will be like 20 years of it.
20. Yeah.
And you know, me and Keem keep talking about. I mean, the next thing on the list definitely is a re-record after like Omni for sure.
Okay. Of what?
Burn This World.
Oh, hell
Is it
yeah.
going to be like reimagined type thing? More, okay.
Big time.
Better.
Okay.
It's gonna be
Better.
big
That's
time.
going to be interesting with the experience that you guys have now with new lineup.
For sure. Well, and it's the reason it's so sick. I think that a re-record for the Browning is going to be even, not to say it's cooler than any other band's re-record, but like if a band that is just guitar, bass, drums, and vocals re-records, it's just going to sound like a better version of that.
Just a
But
better
with the
production.
Browning, we have like new sounds, crazy sounds. Like the sounds are blatantly way better. It doesn't just sound like somehow a better distorted guitar. Like the synths and everything about it, the kick drums, everything, all the stuff, electronic stuff can be super modernized. And that's another thing is I can use the same song but like a modern version of the synth. So it's actually going to sound. Me and Keem have gone through some of the songs and listened to them. It's going to sound straight up just like a modern record that would be put out today because everything about it can be modernized completely. And so, way better vocals. My freaking vocals sucked crap back then, but and so it's going to have way better vocals. We'll have plenty more tempo drops. The tunings will be, whatever's going to work for that song. Cause I used to be really adamant about, this album's in C, this album's in D, or B. And with like the past few, like, I don't know, this record has probably like 5 tunings on it.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
And the same song will freaking, have, drop down to different, stuff. And so,
And with both of your vocals too, like, I don't know, I'm guessing that's what you're going to do. It's going to give like another tone as well.
It's going to sound way darker and way heavier than Burn This World did. And what it's going to be is it's going to be a bit like because I don't want to redo all of Hypernova, even though I think Keem said Hypernova is his favorite Browning record.
That's correct.
But I don't want to redo all of it. So what it's probably going to be is all of Burn This World plus like 5 big ones off of Hypernova. And so like it's going to be like freaking 20 tracks.
You artwork type thing, just like.
And you heard it here first, but you're also doing Final Plague and Taught to Walk.
Hey, there you go.
I talked to Matt too. I was texting Matt last night because I sent him the dates for the tour. And he said, "What day are we doing Harbinger of Death at?"
Exactly, got you Harbinger.
There we go.
And so, definitely those. I think Taught to Walk would be actually crazy heavy now with modern production, like a big trap beat and dark, like how dark it is.
I think it still holds up as like from a songwriting perspective. Like it's I don't know. Those are 2 songs that
now if you're on Wayback Machine, there is something I need you to try to find me because I'm never on there because there was a
there's
song,
very little for the Browning, by the way.
Okay,
the
there's
music
a song
isn't really there
that was called Tribal that I uploaded onto MySpace. It was called Tribal. I can't find that. Yeah. And so
TRIBAL.
Yeah. So do your dive whenever you want to. I've been trying to find that demo forever. I've even publicly posted about it. And so I can't find it anywhere. But I did upload it on MySpace. And, but yeah, there's, the re-record will be sick, but this new album, I do think it's the best. I think it's gonna be the best received Browning album by far. This new one.
Yeah, it's gonna be the best, and it's gonna surprise people. That's what I wanted with this one because I wanted to reach people that was like, let me give Browning another chance. But then for the people that been with the Browning for three decades, like Johnny, they will also be like this. They still stick to their sound, so it's definitely good on all ends.
Yeah, because that is the hard part to sort is like, how do you keep it relevant to new people, but keep it relevant to the old fans too?
Right.
And that's
you don't want it to sound samey either. Like you want to innovate in some sense without like going overboard.
Yep. And that's why that one song got cut right at the end because it was the album as a whole felt like it needed more of the old Browning. And so definitely that's the biggest plan with this album specifically is to have it be relevant to people because honestly, like, and I don't know if this makes you sound like a prick or whatever, but like everybody knows the Browning. They know the name the Browning. Like anyone in metalcore, deathcore, they've seen the name, they've heard it. So how do you reinvigorate everybody to give it a second shot?
Right.
You know,
the eyeballs are potentially there. Just how do you capture them back to
there's name recognition. There's all that sort of stuff, but how do you make them check it out and have the music be relevant enough to be like, okay, yeah, I can't believe they're still, well, first of all, people will say, I can't believe the Browning's still putting out music. And then they'll be like, I can't believe they're putting out music that's this good, you know?
Still. Like, I can't believe they haven't changed their name yet.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. that was a discussion for this album. It really was.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it goes back to the legacy of the name, right? The legacy of the band. Like you'd be cutting off so much by changing names and people not knowing that it's the Browning.
It was a big topic before fully putting out Poison, because if we were gonna do it, it had to happen right then. And so because here's the thing about the name change, I never had a good idea for a name. There was never something that I was like,
nobody ever does.
Yeah, right. Never had an idea that I was like, okay, that's cool. But then we did a name change for mine and my wife's band, The Defect.
Yeah.
Through coming up with the name change for that, I came up with the perfect name change for the Browning. I even did a panic stream on my Discord. Everyone that's in here from my Discord, they know that stream and how it was. I said, everyone on now. Get on stream. And we were in the middle of tour.
Emergency meeting.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, you remember that. Yeah, it was serious. And so we had a big thing, and actually the community voted that they were fine with it. They would do the name change. And so everyone was actually totally down. After I explained the reason why it would need to happen and all this sort of stuff. Everyone
those are your diehards, right?
Exactly.
Which is different than...
That's the thing. They would support me no matter what.
Right.
And so they're like, yeah, we'll still be here. What are you talking about? It's like, yeah, I know you will be. But even my
Young Z saying that you were really worked up.
I was. It was an ordeal. And so my booking agent was super stoked on the name change and everything. The label, not stoked at all. Of course not. So yeah, but it makes sense, they brought up a lot of good points about it, and that they believe in, and I have always believed in the Browning as is. Before I came up with this random name that was perfect, I was like, yeah, we can take this thing, it could be big time, right? Not big time. I think the Browning does have a cap. We could be big time deathcore, but not like, we're not gonna be huge. And so until that moment, I fully backed it 100%, no questions asked. It was all good. We could do this. And that's basically what the label said. They said, like, we signed you guys knowing what your potential was, because everyone would agree that their side and me as well, it wasn't the Browning's music name, stuff like that has held the Browning back. It was mainly, I don't know, it's whatever, behind the scenes stuff, people that maybe worked for the band or labels and multiple labels and all this sort of stuff. And so the label was very confident. They're like, we signed you fully expecting and knowing that we can make it work just as is. So they said, at a minimum, give us one album to prove that everything could be fine.
Right.
And so then I calmed myself down, because I was like, I had a logo made. I did everything. I was like ready for it. And even in the people
reminds me of someone else on this call. I won't say who, but
yeah. And so I mean, it happens, and especially branding is very difficult. But I think the Browning has established a brand for itself, and I think that the name, we don't really get name jokes like we used to back in the day. The name jokes used to be freaking nonstop.
Yeah.
And now the Browning's 50% brown, so no one can say crap. Right.
Yeah, but I think you guys have always laughed about it too, right?
Yeah,
like you guys never took it seriously. I think that's where bands get in trouble, right? If they were to defend or get upset with fans being like joking about it, that sort of stuff. But you guys have always been a cool sport about it. So I think that kind of alleviates a lot of potential trolling involved.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, especially now, every post that I do like a poop fire emoji. Yeah,
the poop thing, 100%. It works.
And so, I think that it's I think this moment is the Brownings' biggest potential to actually have like our moment. We have the right team behind us, the two people in the band that have the right mindset to make it happen. Not to say anything bad about anyone that's ever been in this band, but it never felt like anyone that was in it was like about it as much as I was, or maybe they just liked touring and whatnot. Maybe they or whatever it was. And so Keem's like right on the same page with me as far as what the real potential of this is. Why are you freaking smiling?
Or so he says.
What the crap are you smiling about?
What Luke said.
What are you saying?
He said when Keem makes a post, he says a particular word to lean into the name as well.
Oh, yes, yeah, and I mean that's one thing that's good about Keem too is that he fully embraces the branding and the sound and just everything it is, because the amount of people that's been involved with this band, whether it's managers, labels, or band members that are like, hey, we should really try to write like songs like all these other try to do whatever the modern metalcore bands are doing at the time. And I've always said, no, don't care about doing that. And so I've just always been very adamant about keeping the Browning. And it's nice to have Keem there that he wants to, because with the name change, Keem didn't want he didn't want to do it.
I'm an OG, and I listen to a lot of music.
Yeah,
a lot of these bands sound alike, so it's like no band sounds like the Browning. So that's what I love about the Browning, because it's like you can go into a show and they have a song on the PA. You're like, oh, who is this? And you're like, I don't know, it's some metalcore band. But when the Browning plays, you're like, oh, that's the Browning.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited for what the modern age of the Browning is going to be, for sure.
Cool, man. Well, I'm pumped. I'm excited, man. Yeah, I think maybe the last thing I'd maybe want to touch on, because it kind of is relevant to what you just were talking about. I feel like the Browning never lost its heaviness either, which specifically for a band that has other elements in it that wouldn't be metal, it could have been easy for you to be at some point like, hey, let's do this more commercial thing, or let's go softer, or let's do this other thing. Like
for sure.
And you guys have just gotten heavier with time. So what's kind of the, because you said, you never wanted the Browning to not be the Browning anymore, but what's that mindset like for you?
I have overanalyzed everything about the Browning. And that's another thing about like one reason that the Browning is, I think, still even a band, is that I care so much about it. I think it's what I think about every day. Like no one else that has been in this band has thought about it every day, and so I've thought about every single aspect of everything about this crap. And especially with getting heavier and heavier, we've had songs that we've tested to see how fans react, especially our last label. We were signed to a big time label, Spine Farm. They have big time radio potential and all this crap, and so they wanted to see like what's the potential if the Browning has a song like that. So go listen to Final Breath. It was the big single off of Geist, and just then after the fact, like getting the data, looking at the data, talking to fans, all that sort of stuff, it's very blatant the songs that the Browning fans really want, and that's very blatant like what people are looking for out of the Browning. And so I just want to provide that for them. And it also just it's like my favorite crap too. Like I want chaotic stuff. I hate that metal is so predictable and boring now. And I hate that every supposed metalcore or like whatever band is writing like songs with like 3 Days Grace rock structures every single song. And
that is the thing right now. It is crazy.
Yeah, I can't stand it. And it makes songs so predictable. So going into End of Existence, because End of Existence especially was a big F off album for me. I was like, I don't care about literally anything that anybody in this planet is doing right now. So I didn't ask anybody for help with mix. I mixed that crap myself. No questions asked. I didn't listen to anything. I didn't even have any modern plugins. I used Line 6 Pod Farm, and I just wanted to make it sound however it was going to sound. And the exact purpose was to not have one single freaking song that was structured in a standard way. And the big thing that made me realize that too is like Carnage is our biggest song. It's like,
Right.
okay, why is Carnage our biggest song? Because it's all over the freaking place, you know, and it's crazy melodic, and it has a lot of synth is forefront, but so is like the energy and the heaviness, the hard style, the rap. It's just everywhere. That song is absolutely everywhere. And you can just go down the line of watching us live and what songs do the fans react to? What do they want to hear? What are they like whenever we start, you know, Dragon, the second that synth hits, the crowd blows up, you know?
Yeah.
And so I would never want to change that because it's what I love, but it's also what the fans blatantly love. And then even with the End of Existence, some people might not recognize it as this, but End of Existence did a lot for the Browning and is the Browning's biggest album. And it's the biggest the band had ever been from a live aspect too. Our headliners that we did on End of Existence are the biggest that we've done, and it's the heaviest, least structured. Like no structure. Listen to those songs. There's not a single song that has a basic structure on it. The tone of the production, every producer would tell you it's absolute crap, and I just realized that none of it mattered like that, you know. And so I think that the Browning, and this is another reason that I really kind of thought about the name change being not necessary too. I think that the Browning is really one of the only bands that the only thing that matters is the music. We don't look good. We don't have an image that makes sense. Okay, well, yeah, Keem's the only sex appeal this band's ever had, I guess, but he will say that. But we're not like a pretty band. We don't have a cool name. I guess we have cool artwork. But the music is absolutely the only thing that matters. And so with getting heavier, that's just blatantly what people want. People love the live show. And that was another thing with End of Existence, was I was trying to make the mix more like what it would sound like live. So much heavier guitars, you know, and just louder vocals. And Keem especially is a big adamant on me making my vocals louder. I always want to drown that crap out. But yeah, I just think that staying heavy is just what people want. And I've always said I would, instead of changing what the Browning does, I would just start a new band.
Right.
And so I did. It's what I did.
Yeah, but
but I mean, it's commendable. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was just about to say, I think it's a big point that you kind of just made me realize is why I prefer old material. You know what I mean? Like I keep talking about like the Suicide Science EP, Chelsea Green EP there and stuff like that. It's because there was no established structured. It was just like unpredictable, raw, and like in your face all the time.
Too.
You never knew every song because of that is more unique. Because if you always like, I see structure, not that it's a bad thing. I feel like I said that I love pop punk music. I mean, it's the same freaking structure pretty much every single song. But like in metal, I feel like it's empty. Like it just doesn't make sense to me to make it with a filter per se. It's like, okay, so this song is going to be that. So it's a different riff, same structure. You know when the breakdown is going to, like a breakdown is supposed to be unpredictable, in your face, and unexpected. If I expect it and I know exactly when it's going to be, it's different, you know? And
it's like, and honestly, reaction channels are a big thing too for, right when I say it, Keem's like, huh? Me? Honestly,
that's when he starts reacting.
Yeah, honestly, Keem's videos too, like all the reactors, and again, it went back to Carnage. You go watch some of those reactions with Carnage, and they have no freaking clue what is happening. Like they're like, what is this about to go into? And then it hits into something, and they're like, wait a second, what was that? Or even End of Existence. That song being so heavy and the tempo drops, the randomest crap structure, like people get so caught off guard and surprised that's how I think it should all be. So that's where you get to Poison. Now the thing is, like, you can have something be expected without it being predictable. I don't know if that sounds freaking monotonous, but like a big buildup serves a purpose.
Whereas, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
a big buildup is important. where it's a big like a lot of Browning music. There was this Hans Zimmer masterclass that I was on that he talks a lot about like tension building and like releasing tension. If you listen to the Browning's music with that in mind, it's what every part builds tension and then at the releases tension and then starts building again immediately. And so it's go listen to Poison with cinematic like tension building in mind, and you 100% hear that crap. And I think that whenever a band will start a song and after the intro hits, I could freaking write out this into this, and then it ends. And that's exactly it 90% of the time. That's predictable, where it's like it's not the same as doing something that people can feel and they know is coming because you've built the tension properly, you know?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Build-ups are a big part of it too. But like as you said, there's a way of doing it. It can still be unpredictable, and at a certain point, you're like, oh shit, that's coming. You know what I mean? Like it's a different thing.
Poison's a great example of that. Like when the beat just stops.
Yep.
And then the electronics kick in, and which is like a build up into the riff coming in. Like that sort of stuff is always.
And every time the reaction channels are like, they're like, what are they going into?
What's happening right now?
What are they about to do? And so with OMNI, that was the hardest thing to sort out, because the song that we dropped today, you know, whenever me and Keem were working on it, we were like, okay, this is going to feature the Defect, so it's okay to be a little more structured, because like he was saying, like pop punk is fine to be super structured. So is country music. So is anthemic rock. Like that's fine. So the Defect can be totally structured and be fine. There's still
having
ways.
A chorus doesn't mean it's structured either, right?
Right, for sure. And a chorus doesn't have to be a typical chorus too. Like the chorus in Poison is just a stupid fast breakdown with crazy kicks. And so how do we make OMNI a mass appeal potential song with the Defect, but still have something that is surprising and can catch people off with the Browning's new sound? And so that's why you have a random snap tempo drop right in the middle of the song, and then the very end is just a you know, super stupid fast bursty breakdown. And so to try to the new Browning, definitely the sound started on End of Existence, but this album shows what the potential of that actual thought process is. So I do think that this is the biggest potential and the best written songs for the Browning, and because I think that Keem, Keem talks crap on himself and his in being part of this band a lot. And I try to tell him he should give himself a little more credit, because, like, technically I write all the music, but he is kind of like steering me properly to what could, like, how can this be like done in a way that more people are going to be into, you know? And so, Keem helping route this music properly, I'll say, big part of it.
Also him having like an outside, because he was a fan before, like it's a complete different perspective on things. I'm sure it helps quite a lot too.
Yeah, for sure. He doesn't want to change the sound, and so
he's protecting the legacy of like.
There you go. Hey, Keem's the protector. I like that.
I gotta change the name.
I like that. Your mic's muted, by the way, Keem. Goofing it. Standard.
Protector of the legacy.
There you go. Yep.
It's a good title.
True. Yeah. Keem the Protector.
Cool, man. Well, dude, thank you guys so much for taking the time to do this. I was really excited to be able to do this, you know, with the album in mind, you know, with the announcement of the album and the new single and all that. It was cool to be able to talk about the direction of the band and what's coming for you guys. So, really appreciate you guys taking the time doing this with us, and can't wait for the rest of the album. Once plug your shit. What's coming out, when, tour announcement, all that stuff.
Tour announcement Monday. Keem's hearing this for the first time too. So tour announcement on Monday, and it's going to be our biggest headliner. It's super important. All these big hype bands right now are selling so many freaking tickets. It's crazy. And so we need to try to compete. And so we put together our best touring package that we've ever had. I won't say two of the bands on it, but the Defect is opening. So it's going to be the Defect and the Browning playing. And so I'll be playing 2 sets that night.
We're going to be tired. No.
I might look that, but I got it, boy. I got it like that.
You gotta start now.
Hey, I know.
That's awesome, though.
Brother Browning's getting the sloppy seconds here.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so it's gonna be sick, and we are. I've also kind of it's a different world in the promotion. I used to just, if we had a tour, I just put it out there. Local promoters would promote, and people would just show up. And this, I'm gonna try as hard as I can to promote it preemptively, because to be honest, we have to compete with these other bands that are selling tons of tickets. We need to have the flyer with sold out dates preemptively and all that, because that just generates more hype. Oh, I need to buy my tickets. So we're gonna really try to market this how you have to in the modern world. I'm trying to modernize, even though I can't stand I didn't post on Instagram for like 4 years. It's hard for me to give a crap about this. And so another big point as why is Keem so important. You better freaking, I'm freaking laying it on you. Yeah, I'm so bad for this crap. So
he's the protector. He's got you, dude.
And so the tour's announced this week. It's going to be in January, February, full US. We're also, currently in talks about 2 European tours next year. And so next year is going to be full time. We're going back to full time. Me and Keem have both worked out our normal lives and everything to where we can take this back to full time like it used to be. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. And then album comes out November
8th.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. November 8th for the full thing.
Pre-save it. Pre-order it. Buy a bundle.
Yeah. And I need people to I think people don't necessarily, like, when you tell them, hey, go pick up this album, go pre-order this album. I'm taking that money and I am buying lights for the tour, you know? And so it's not just like, hey, I know you can listen to this for free on Spotify and everything, but go buy the CD for $12, so that I can buy lighting, so we can more lighting, because we already have a bunch of lighting ourselves, but I'm trying to get even more. And so I think that there's certain ways that we need to try to push this, of we're trying to take things to the next level, and that does require support from the fans,
And isn't it also a good way, if we're talking about stats and numbers and stuff like that, the fact that you pre-order, the amount of pre-save pre-order stuff like that, I think it's also super good as a indicator.
Whenever we are pitching for tours, whenever our booking agent gets the offer and he can submit the Browning and say, yeah, they had X amount of pre-orders, their headliner that they just did X amount of tickets. And so all of it, this is the most important period of the Browning's career in a lot of ways, that we need as many pre-orders as possible. We need as many pre-sale tickets as possible. We need as much of that stuff as possible, so that we can really, go next year as hard as possible.
So if there was a time to support you guys, it's going to be that.
Oh yeah.
It's now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, not to I would never ever stop writing Browning music. Absolutely not. I'll write Browning music until I'm dead. But we're just being realistic. We both have kids, and we both have wives that don't want us to tour. And so if we're going to do it, it needs to be the real freaking deal. And so we have to do it right. And 100%, this is the most important time of the Browning's career, to make sure that this is going to go into the future, full on.
If you want to be a part of the Browning era and support, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, feed our children, and we will feed you guys music.
There we go. Cool. Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for doing this. This was fucking awesome.
Well, I had a blast.
Fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have
super,
to. We're
super
gonna need to have you
appreciative.
guys in the future for other things, for sure.
Oh, and everyone be on the watch out for a new channel that Keem's gonna have popping up in the next couple days.
Oh,
okay.
We don't need to spill too many beans, but keep your eyes on Keem's page.
Is he gonna
There we
call
go.
it the Protector or something?
So it's the Keem Tector.
Keem Tector. That was a good one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, keep your eyes on Keem's page the next couple days too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
yeah.
Big things.
Big things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have a great night, guys. We'll keep in touch, and can't wait for what's coming, guys.
Heck yeah. Appreciate you guys.
for having us.
And
peace
thank you
out.
for enabling me to get 160,000 mining XP.
There we
you
go. We're here for it anytime.
Yep. All right.
All right.
Peace,
Have a good
guys.
night, guys.
Peace.